All right, so here we're to jump into my list now. All right, top 10 all-time tag teams. Now, look, I will tell you in advance. I'll count down 10-1 for dramatic purposes. My list leans heavily on my youth. All right, I'm born in '81, so some of those tag teams you mentioned there that you don't, remember much of, I do remember much of. Okay, and those weigh heavy on me. All right.
Hey, look, that was the point. Again, to all you marks who are going to hit up Zaslow and say, "Oh, how can you not have this guy?" Hey, this is our lists. These are not the definitives. These are our lists.
So counting down 10-1, greatest tag teams in honor of the Usos becoming the all-time record holder last night. Number 10 for me, Hardy Boys. Hardy Boys obviously great in the ring. Everybody knows that. Nothing special on the microphone. Not a ton of charisma when they were together. I know Jeff Hardy and both Matt Hardy came a long way since then. But at first, I mean, the two of them were mutes. All right. Yeah. They didn't say anything. Number 10 for me, Hardy Boys. Number 9, Edge and Christian. Edge and Christian are another duo who didn't say very much, but eventually when they got going, you were able to see the two of them are major characters and have a ton of charisma.
5 second pose for the flash photography.
Yeah, I got Edge and Christian number 9. Number 8, the New Day. So we get one of the contemporary tag teams jumping in the list now. Number 8.
Agreed there. I think I had them 7. I like that.
Number 8, the New Day. Number 7, the Usos. Wow. But I think that speaks a lot, because like I said, I'm leaning heavily on my youth here, and I got Usos right ahead of the New Day. If New Day won last night, it would probably be the other way around. New Day 7, Usos 8. All right. Okay. But last night's got to mean something. So I give the nod there to the Usos. They're number 7. Number 6, Dudley Boys. All right. Dudley Boys from ECW to WWF. They, like you said there, the tables, it's a Dudley Boy thing. They've won 1,000 tag team championships. I think they're at, are they 9 in WWE, I believe? Yeah, I think they're 9.
Yeah, and I think I honestly think like the real number is like 24 or something, like across companies that they worked for. It's some absurd number.
Dudley Boys at number 6. Number 5, Rockers. As a kid, the Rockers were so cool. I mean, they were amazing. One of the and to show you how important they were to someone who's my age, one of the second biggest heel turn of all time. Number 1 biggest heel turn of all time is Hulk Hogan. All right, Bash at the Beach, joining the NWO. That's number 1 with a bullet. Everybody knows that. Number 2 for me, it was Shawn Michaels putting Marty Jannetty through the window of the barbershop.
Of course. All right.
That's the second biggest heel turn of all time. And if it has that kind of impact on me as a kid, it's because the Rockers were so great.
They were literally a last second drop off my list. And it's because I was considering not putting New Day because of the trios thing. And then I felt like I had to put New Day. But from an impact standpoint, not just that moment, one of the most iconic moments ever.
Yep.
No one, if you look at what wrestling is today, you could probably look at the Rockers and say they started some version of what wrestling is.
They were the coolest. They were cool.
And no one was doing the high flying type
that was
of movement.
Their thing.
I have Young Bucks on my list. You ask the Young Bucks, I bet you they say Rockers are one of their biggest influences.
How about the Rockers? You hear all the teams who were listening. The Rockers never won the titles.
Yeah, I was actually reading about them last night.
That's a disgrace.
Apparently, there's a controversy that at a house show they did win the titles, but never got them. But
alas, it was a match.
No official title reign.
Yep, they the
Hart Foundation.
They beat the Hart Foundation for the titles. The third rope snapped. I've seen the match. Third, it was a televised. It was a WWE Superstar, WWF Superstar.
Oh, okay.
It was televised. Right. It would have been televised. And the top rope snapped in the middle of the match. They had to work. And think about it, for a team like the Rockers that uses the ropes. They had to do the rest of the match without a top rope. And so the match was a shit show. And the Rockers won the titles. And because the way they used to tape WWF Superstars, it doesn't air for a couple of weeks.
Sure.
They decided to scrap it. They kept the belts on the Hart Foundation. The Rockers never won the titles. That's a disgrace.
But that also, to your point, that does show impact because they're widely considered one of the best tag teams ever, and they never won a title.
Yep. Number 4, New Age Outlaws. Now, the New Age Outlaws, multi-time winner, but the mic, the entertainment value, they were so cool. All right.
Part of the faction that, along with Austin and Rock, probably saved the company.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Impact is there.
Yeah. Number 3, Legion of Doom. Now, I do call them their Legion of Doom because I was a WWF kid as opposed to an NWA, WCW kid. I knew who all the NWA and WCW guys were because I used to get Pro Wrestling Illustrated. You got the top 10 list, who's top 10 this month and that deal. But I was a WWF kid. So Legion of Doom for me, number 3. Number 2. This got tough. All right. Number 2, Demolition. Demolition. Now, I know it's all what? You got Legion of Doom, Road Wars. They ripped them off. How's Demolition ahead of them? Like I said, I was a WWF kid. All right. So to me, Demolition was the big one. I understand
third longest title reign of all time.
I understand the history there. All right. But Demolition to me, they were the best when I was a kid. They were scary. They were so tough. Big Demolition fan. So for me, Demolition coming in at number 2. Also, one of my all-time favorite WrestleMania moments, of course, was WrestleMania 6, which is one of my all-time favorite WrestleManias, and Demolition winning back the titles. I think that was their 3rd championship and final reign, where they beat Colossal Connection. Great moment. And of course, an even bigger moment came right after, where Andre finally got his WrestleMania moment, where he abandoned the Heenan family. Really, really great moments. So Demolition, number 2. And number 1 for me, this one was easy. Hart Foundation. Hart Foundation's number 1. Bret Hart's my all-time favorite wrestler. Hart Foundation is my all-time favorite tag team. And I fell in love with pro wrestling at 5-6 years old when the Hart Foundation were just starting to come up. They still had Jimmy Hart in their corner. WrestleMania 3, they're tagging with Dangerous Danny Davis against Strike Force. And who would have been the 3rd member with Strike Force for that match? I don't remember. But anyway, Hart Foundation for me, one of my all-time favorite tag team matches is SummerSlam 91 when Hart Foundation win back the titles against Demolition because Legion of Doom comes and interferes, and Hart Foundation, 2 out of 3 falls. SummerSlam, they win back the titles. So for me, number 1 tag team all-time, Hart Foundation.
And like I said, I think there's a lot of people listening that'll say it's sacrilegious for me to not even have them on the list because of what they mean to a lot of people in terms of tag team wrestling. But they were a little before. Here's what I remember of Hart Foundation: 1997, the stable, Bret Hart,
right,
Anvil Neidhart, British Bulldog, Brian Pillman.
And Owen, yeah,
and Owen. That's what I remember.
Right,
that's my fondest and the thing that sticks out to me most when I think Hart Foundation. I think Bret Hart finally going heel as the leader of the Hart Foundation with that stable, which is an incredible stable, by the way, to go up against the DXs and of the world and whatnot. But hey, totally fair. And the same with Demolition. Just a little bit before I was like cognizant of what was going on in WWE. But yeah, I mean, they got to be up there, right? They had one until the New Day. They had the longest title reign ever, right?
Yeah. Yep. And by the way, Demolition, and I know there's some personal stuff there. There's beef going on there. Demolition, not in the Hall of Fame. That's a joke.
That's kind of weird.
That
is kind of weird.
Yeah,
that is kind of weird.
That's a joke.
A couple shout outs / honorable mentions that I just have to mention because they were impactful to my wrestling experience. Well, you have the Rockers on your list, so we talked about them enough. I mentioned Rock and Sock Connection, Brothers of Destruction. Tough. It was tough for me to leave them off. I love Brothers of Destruction. The Steiners.
Yeah. Steiners. I thought about Steiners.
You could make the argument that the Steiners or Harlem Heat, 1A, 1B for WCW in the history of that company in terms of tag teams. The APA. Sneaky classic tag team. Yeah. They were incredible. And then more of a stable, not really a tag team, but the Shield was incredible. And they probably are one of the better tag teams in whatever iteration you're looking at of all time. They're up. I mean, they're not top 10, but as a stable, they probably are, but as a tag team, not. But had to give those teams their flowers. Because
I had 3 that were tough to leave off: Harlem Heat, the Steiners, and the British Bulldogs. The British Bulldogs were the last one to me because as a kid, I loved Davey Boy Smith Dynamite Kid. I loved British Bulldogs.
Yeah.
They bring Matilda with them to the ring. The British Bulldogs for me they were the last one off for me.
Yeah, no, I love that list. I think it's a great list. It makes sense, and again, it's what
It's funny how
what's
different our
important to you.
lists are because of our age difference. You know, the lists
But we
are
had,
very
I'm pretty sure we had 4 and 3 exactly the same.
yeah.
I think we had New Age Outlaws and Road Warrior / Legion of Doom.
Oh,
4
okay.
and 3.
Yeah. All right,
there you go.
so that's a good list. All right, in honor of the Usos last night. Let's get to Raw. Okay, let's rewind 5 days ago and let's get to WWE Monday Night Raw. A few big stories, and maybe the biggest story of the week, if not the second biggest story, ended up main eventing Raw. So we'll work our way to it. But the first thing that I want to hit on there is we did find out who the answer to the Rhea problem is, and that was the debut. Or I guess re-debut if we're not going to count Retribution. That was the debut of Mia Yim back on WWE Monday Night Raw. So Seth Rollins sneaks away when he's about to see there's going to be a big confrontation between the OC and Judgment Day. He slithers out of the ring. They're going at it, and then all of a sudden we got Mia Yim who comes through the crowd, and this is one of the differences. This is one of the main differences between WWE and AEW. WWE is such a family-oriented crowd at the live shows, while AEW is a hardcore wrestling crowd. And Mia Yim's return was met with just no crowd reaction. There was no reaction. It's like, that was a cool moment, okay? We've been building up to who's going to be the answer to the Rhea problem. Mia Yim's pretty cool. What is she? Is she the head badass in charge, head bitch in charge? What does she go by? You know, that's a cool character, Mia Yim, and she's a badass. She can she's someone who can go toe to toe with Rhea Ripley, even though she's not quite as big as Rhea. But that's a moment that should have gotten a nice little crowd reaction, and it just got nothing because it's such a different crowd.
Well, and I also think to that point, when Mia Yim was in NXT, the NXT crowd was an AEW crowd, right?
Yeah.
They were, and she's only been on the main roster as whatever she was in Retribution. So yeah, I also think aside from not being the hardcore mark type of crowd that AEW gets, I just don't think people on the main roster that go to main roster shows know who she is.
Yeah,
they just don't know who she is because a lot of them probably didn't watch NXT when she was in NXT, and they've only seen her with a mask and a stupid name.
I'll tell you what, though.
But it was cool.
So when they beat up Judgment Day and they're in the ring, they're posing, and Mia Yim's posing in front of them. That was cool. That looked cool as hell.
Yeah.
I thought that looked very cool. I dug that. I thought that looked cool. So that's setting up War Games, right? So we're gonna get the OC versus Judgment Day.
No, it's. I think it's just traditional Survivor Series.
Oh, okay. Because
I think there's only the 2 War Game matches.
Okay.
I think there's a women's War Game.
Gotcha. We'll get to that in a second. You're right. Gotcha.
And then the Bloodline.
Okay, because I was wondering, but I guess I could have the same question too when it comes to Survivor Series. So Mia Yim tags in, and she can only fight Rhea. That's what we're doing there.
Yeah, I think that's. Assuming they're going by like what traditional mixed tag rules.
Yeah.
Then yes.
Okay. All right. Well, that makes more sense because I was really confused if that was going to be a War Games match because. How the hell do they just fight each other when you got 10 people who are all okay? That makes a lot of sense.
Now, here's my question. Survivor Series, though, traditionally is 5-on-5, right? So
it depends. I mean, it started 5-on-5 back in, 1989. There have been plenty of years where it's 4-on-4. It's just
okay. Gotcha.
All right. Yeah, it depends.
Fair enough.
So after the match, though, you got Rhea backstage licking her wounds, and you got Bianca who walks by her, gives a little stare down, a chuckle, and keeps it moving. I like that shit. All right.
That was great. That's what we were asking for last week, right? We need Rhea involved at the top because she's that good.
Yeah, that wasn't there for nothing. It doesn't have to be next week. It doesn't have to be in 2 weeks, but it's coming. All right. So I dug that moment backstage.
That was what I've been looking for. Like, so now you have Mia Yim and Rhea. You have the tease of Rhea with Bianca down the line, and we're still going to get Beth Phoenix and Rhea, right? So we got a lot of stuff going on with arguably right now the top female in the company.
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
she is.
So they've set her up with a lot of different ways to go after a few months now of her mainly just talking.
Yeah.
And so now they've set it up to where the next few months could be a lot of really good shit from Rhea. So that was extremely well done. That was really well done.
And so Bianca was on her way to the ring at that point, and that gets Bianca declares war games on Damage Control. So we're going to get Bianca, Alexa, Asuka. On
Nikki
the other
Cross.
side, well, you got Nikki Cross.
Nikki Cross is
Damage Control. Right. So those four, and who is the fourth then?
Well, there's going to be 5. There's 5. So each team is going to get
Oh, right. They filled in the silhouettes. That's right.
Yeah, they had the silhouettes. So my guess is Team Bianca will get Candice LeRae.
Okay.
She's been sort of feuding with Damage Control since she came back. The other two, I don't really know.
Who would you add on the heel side? So you got Nikki Cross, who's a total wild card, obviously. That makes 4 of them over there.
So what I would do after what happened with the backstage thing and Mia Yim, I would put Mia Yim with Bianca and Rhea with Damage Control, but they're already going to be in the other.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know. All
right. So they'll fill that in this week then.
Yeah. Maybe they'll bring up some NXT-ers. I know. Well, no, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they bring up like there's the two girls in NXT. I tried to watch NXT this week. I don't love it. But Cora Jade and the other girl who've been feuding, they used to be best friends. Maybe they bring them up to be part of it in some way. I don't know, but
they had been teasing what's her name, Nikita Lyons, who I can't take my eyes off of. Nikita Lyons and Zoe Stark. But they got their own thing going on right now because while I'm not 1,000% dialed into NXT these days, Zoe Stark turned on Nikita Lyons last week. So they're doing their own thing right there. All right.
So I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out. Can I just go back to the the Judgment Day thing real quick?
Yeah.
When Rollins came out for the Open Challenge and the Judgment Day music hit, the juices of my guilty pleasure. Okay.
You thought you were getting AJ versus Seth.
No. When the Judgment Day music
Judgment
hit,
Day. So and Finn.
And they surrounded the ring. Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be?
Yeah.
Finn
came in.
Seth on the mic going at each other. Finn, you cost me gold.
Right.
I'm going to cost you gold.
I love when they call back to stuff like that, you know?
They're fighting this week.
Okay.
They teased it. I believe last night on SmackDown, they promoted Seth Rollins versus Finn. Okay. I love it.
All right.
Love it. Seth is undoubtedly, like we talked about, I think he's fully faced now. I think we can safely say he is a face at this point. And Finn's doing some of the best work of his career. I love that. And I think long term that they could do stuff forever, those two guys. I thought that was incredible. I wasn't terribly mad when the OC showed up, but I was pretty excited when I saw those two guys face to face in the ring because they are incredible.
So Nikki Cross trashes the 24/7 title, RIP 24/7 title, after she takes it away. She beats Dana Brooke, my friend Dana Brooke. She's a Miami resident. We should get her on. It's Still Real to Me sometime soon.
Absolutely.
She beats Dana Brooke, and what I think was apropos was Nikki Cross, when she trashes the belt, she actually misses the trash can with the 24/7 title. I think that's probably an appropriate way to end the 24/7 title. So that's now done. And now that brings, unless you have something else to add there.
We can't just gloss over this, right? We have to, and particularly because we may now never see him in the ring again. We have to honor the greatest 24/7 champion of all time, R-Truth.
Well, you say we may never see him again because while he
just had surgery.
Yeah, right. But while he does not age, he's actually up there in age.
He's like 51, I think.
Yeah, I think he's in his 50s. Yeah.
I just would like to honor R-Truth. He's one of my favorites of all time. I think he's one of the most criminally underutilized performers of all time. Although he had some big moments, obviously Awesome Truth against the main event and whatnot. But 53 24/7 title reigns for R-Truth of the 196 title reigns.
The 365 24/7 7-Eleven I-95 South champion.
But R-Truth, I mean, you could say what you want about Vince, you could say what you want about his ideas, but that belt gave R-Truth the vehicle to be R-Truth. And there's very few things that make me happier than R-Truth with a microphone in his hand. He is unbelievable. That is the only reason I'm sad that this belt's gone, is we will never see him with it again. But other than that, good riddance.
Nice little tribute there. And finally, if not the biggest story of the week in WWE, the second biggest story for sure, Lashley comes out and just destroys Seth Rollins, just obliterates Seth Rollins. Lashley now is heel. I mean, that's what we saw at the end of Crown Jewel. Lashley's heel. Side note, I'm hoping it means maybe they can get the Hurt Business back together. But Lashley is heel, all right? He destroys Seth Rollins. What happens now? Austin Theory decides to cash in his Money in the Bank after several repeated attempts to cash it in on Roman Reigns. He's tried several times. Several times he has gone down there with the intention of cashing in, and he wasn't able to actually hand the briefcase to the referee. So
they also teased at one point that he might cash in NXT.
Okay, so that got thwarted several times. And then he finally decides to say, F it, I am coming after the U.S. title. And this was met with, I know online, this was met with really poor reaction. Now, I know Triple H wants to make it seem like the Intercontinental title on SmackDown, the U.S. title on Raw, that those are like the centerpieces of the shows so that Roman doesn't have to be there every single week. And I think for the most part, he's done a really good job with that. Like the belts have felt more important over the last couple months as a result, but you're not going to be able to convince me that Money in the Bank should be cashed in on anything other than the world title. So I would much rather, now I will tell you, I liked him losing that cash in much better than him winning that cash in. Like, I'd rather him try and cash in and look like a dunce and not get the U.S. title than cash in and win the U.S. title. I don't want to see that becoming a thing where sometimes that's how Money in the Bank is going to operate. If we were going to do that, I liked him coming out looking like a dunce. It got a great laugh out of me when Seth kicked out, and then finally won. Like, I enjoyed that. I did laugh. It makes Austin Theory look like a total nerd, but I would have rathered, if he's going to lose the cash-in, let him try against Roman. Let him actually do it against Roman, and let Roman just kick the shit out of him. Because while guys have lost their Money in the Bank cash-ins,
Otis, we're sorry, Otis.
I don't know. No, I'm saying while they've lost the match that they cashed in,
right?
Well, Otis never got to. He
lost the
briefcase.
Right.
But Baron Corbin has lost. Damian Sandow has lost. Guys have lost their cash-in opportunities, but I'm talking about none of those guys got their shit kicked in when they tried to cash in. I would have much rather have seen that, where he thought he was going to be an opportunist and cash in on Roman, and Roman still beat the shit out of him, because Austin Theory doesn't really lose anything in that regard. I mean, Roman Reigns is beating everyone. So I liked that he ended up looking like a total dunce, but I would have just rather it gone the route of trying to do it on Roman Reigns.
Yeah, that's what my main thing with this was, I was going to ask, like, does this mean more to you? Do you think this means more about how Triple H feels about Austin Theory, or about how he feels about the Money in the Bank?
No, I think it's about Austin Theory, and they were trying to find a way to get that briefcase out of his hands.
Yeah, because like you said, like not only cashing in and losing, but cashing in and losing on the U.S. title, it just makes all of it seem way less important.
Yeah.
It doesn't make the U.S. To me, that moment didn't make the U.S. title seem more important.
Right.
It can't be more important than having arguably your top face now in the company defending it every week.
I mean,
right?
I think what needs to happen, I think what could potentially salvage that moment, we got to hear from Austin Theory on Monday night. We need an explanation as to what he was thinking. Maybe that explanation is, I tried several times on Roman Reigns, I couldn't do it, but there needs to be some kind of explanation. What the hell were you thinking? Like, what? Why were you doing that? Like that? Like maybe that leads Raw on Monday night. That has to happen. on Monday.
Yeah, I'll give. I'm gonna give Triple H the benefit of the doubt,
Yeah.
right? We gotta see where it goes. But if it's just that, and it was just like, hey, we got to get this off of him. He can't. He can't be the champion. We just know he can't be a champion yet. This was a Vince thing. He's not ready. We're not ready to put him there, and it's it. And it's just gone. Then it seems like a big fail. But if there's more to it, like you said, then
I hope there's more to it.
It remains to be seen.
Yeah, I hope there's more to it. I mean, what they did accomplish there was they made Seth look like, the fighting champion. He kicked out of all the moves, kicked out of all of them. Like Seth Rollins got so much more. I mean, like, which do you think? Did Seth Rollins get more out of that segment than Austin Theory lost?
I don't know. I don't know. I didn't think either of them came away up. I mean, I think obviously Theory loses a lot because he had the Money in the Bank. I don't think Rollins really gains much at all from it. I think it's a net even for Rollins, and just as of now, if it stays the same, a loss for.
I got no problem with Theory losing. I just wish it was to Roman. I think it could have been done so much better.
Yep. Yeah.
So, real quick
by the
here.
Way, sorry. I was going to say before we get to, because I know we're about to go to AEW real quick. What we didn't mention from SmackDown, Braun Strowman burying Jinder Mahal in the World Cup. I think Braun Strowman's winning the World Cup.
I think he is too. Yeah, I mean, I think he is too.
I
think he is too, because I think you get a good Haas fight between Braun and Gunther. I don't think Braun necessarily beats him. I hope not. I'd like it to be a really long reign for Gunther, but I think you get a good Haas fight for the Intercontinental title. Like that's attractive to me. Braun Strowman versus Gunther.
Still wearing those tight red pants.
That's right.
All right.
So Dynamite. Let's talk about AEW Dynamite. AEW is in a weird place right now because there's not a ton that is exciting me about AEW right now. But there were there were two things that really stood out to me about Dynamite. All right. Number one was Joe turning on Wardlow. So leading to eventual Samoa Joe versus, I mean, they seemed like they were buddies. They were doing some tag teaming, leading to them. And you got Hobbs who's mixed in there. So that's cool. But eventually leading to a Samoa Joe versus Wardlow feud. I'm into that. It feels like since winning the title, Wardlow is just, he was red hot Wardlow. And it really seems like since he is not attached to MJF anymore, they haven't really known what to do with him. And Wardlow was so damn hot. So a Wardlow Samoa Joe, especially when Wardlow's the babyface, I think has a lot of potential.
I love that segment. First of all, I think Wardlow is an absolute superstar.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He has it all. And he's good on the mic too, but he is good looking dude, good in the ring for a big guy.
I talked to him. I've had him on Zaslow's show before, and I talked to him, and I told him, you give me Dave Bautista vibes. I think you got a lot of Bautista in you. And he said that was his hero, and he is that he's made a lot of his character in that fashion.
Yeah. I've liked Powerhouse Hobbs since he was just Will Hobbs, like as a nobody. When I first saw him in AEW, I was like, this guy's got something. I don't know what it is yet, but he's got something. And then when he joined Team Taz, he obviously evolved, and I think he's really good. And I think Samoa Joe is one of the all-time WWE letdowns in terms of how they booked him and what they did with him. He is incredible. He was incredible in NXT. He would still to this day be incredible on the main roster, face or heel. Whatever he does, he is an absolute badass.
I just think injury-wise, they felt they couldn't count on him. He was always in the middle of a good story.
Older. He's been
and
around
then he always
for a long
got
time.
hurt. Yeah, I think they just felt they couldn't rely on him.
But yeah, I love that segment. I just, the TNT title is an issue to me. First of all, because the reason why you never name a title after a network is because you're no longer on that network. But whatever, it is what it is. But I thought the TNT title was going to be like a TV title where it gets defended every week. And I was excited about that.
It should be, right?
Because when it first started, Cody won it and Cody was defending it every week. And I think Cody Rhodes looked at it as, this iteration of the former WCW television title.
Yeah.
And I think he took a lot of pride in having it and defending it every week. And now we could talk about it, but AEW just has way too many titles for only having 3 hours of programming a week. I'm not counting those YouTube shows that they do. But they just have way too many titles, so you can't defend it every week.
So the other big story, though, And I think was the biggest takeaway from Diamond. I mean, I know, Danielson beat Guevara at the end of the night, but Saraya, the former Paige, announces that she has been cleared. She is back to wrestling. The Saraya Britt Baker promo I thought was really interesting. I liked everything that came out of Britt's mouth. Like, I felt the things that Britt Baker was saying. I didn't love Saraya in that segment. Saraya clearly came off. She was the heel for sure. But I think that Saraya came out there thinking she's going to have the crowd behind her because she's announced, hey, I'm Paige, I'm Saraya. I've been doing this a long time, Women's Revolution. I'm back. I just announced that I'm wrestling again. And that crowd wasn't having it. Like, that crowd was behind their homegrown girl in Britt Baker. I do like the whole she's ours, you came from over there kind of deal. I like that story. I like that deal. I love the crowd being behind Britt Baker in that spot because she is AEW and we're an AEW crowd. But I think Saraya was probably stunned by that reaction when she got backstage.
Yeah. And so everything I just said about Wardlow, I think about Britt Baker. She is an absolute superstar. She is one of the best women's wrestlers in all of professional wrestling. She's good at everything she does. And I agree with the Saraya thing. And I think part of it is when the first promo she did when she came back, they botched that so horribly. It was one of the worst segments AEW's ever done, where she came out and she was like, hey, girls, come out here. And then 4 girls that you barely know other than Toni Storm come out to the ring. And she's like, they've been underutilized. I'm here to make the women's division respect them. I was like, what are we doing? Why is this getting 30 minutes on my TV screen right now? It made no sense. Obviously, Britt Baker and her crew came out. And now I don't even think this whole thing is happening where they have crews. Now it's just a one-on-one thing. The whole thing has been very thrown together. And it's another example of the latest toy for Tony Khan to me, right? Tony Khan, it just once a month, it's like, who's the most recent former WWE person I can come in to maybe draw some ratings? That's what it seems like to me.
So in that vein, though, it would be silly and look, Saraya's a big name, but in that vein, it would be silly to not have Britt Baker beat her then.
But she was a big name. Like, she was a big name. She hasn't wrestled in 6 years or something. And to be fair, do people really remember her? I know she was impactful. I know she made a difference, and she was, the women's champion, and she was a big deal for a while in WWE. But that women's division has changed and evolved so much since she stopped wrestling. Her run as GM in WWE was horrendous. I think people have a bad taste in their mouth of how her last little bit in WWE went. And I don't think the way they've just given her an open mic, she was trashing WWE. She was low key trashing WWE in her opening promo when she first came out.
But then a couple nights ago,
place where they let you be yourself.
But then a couple nights ago, she was trashing the AEW women.
Yeah. She almost started crying which was, I guess, a cool moment when she almost cried in the ring when she announced that she was cleared, which was cool. I mean, it's fair. I mean, she did have to retire because of injuries. So that was cool. But other than that, yeah, I agree with you. I think the crowd just they just weren't into it. They just weren't into it or into her. They're always into Britt Baker. Britt's great.
Yeah, I think it'll be a shame if they don't have Britt win that match.
Yeah. I will say, they have a little bit of an issue with their women's division. Thunder Rosa, whatever's happening with her has probably not helped. And then, before it was Saraya, it was Tony Khan puts a title on Toni Storm as if Toni Storm's this huge superstar who came over in this coup for AEW. I think most people, when Toni Storm showed up, didn't know who Toni Storm was.
I would
NXT
say
UK.
I like Toni Storm, but I would say all the time that Toni Storm has been getting should be occupied by Jade Cargill.
Oh, 100%. They don't emphasize her or her undefeated streak.
She's obviously super raw still, but she is so obviously going to be a massive star, Jade Cargill.
Yeah.
Massive star.
I like what they're doing with Jade Cargill and Nyla Rose. I don't mind it. I like Nyla Rose the stuff they were doing with her and Vicky Guerrero was a little corny in the beginning. But a lot of it was on being the elite, and I'm not sure how much of that you watch, but they were doing some weird, corny stuff. But now I love Vicky Guerrero. Vicky Guerrero is one of my all-time favorite managers. So anytime she's doing something, it's cool. And I think what they're doing there is good because they're both powerhouses for a women's division. So that's going to be good at full. Like Nyla Rose stole the title and is saying she's the TBS champ.
Yeah, I like that.
It's a good storyline.
I like that.
But yeah, I think Jade Cargill is clearly like that's the women's title in AEW right now, right? It's supposed to be the secondary title, but that's the one.
Yeah. Joey, we have a way that we're going to end every show every week. All right. We do big deal, not a big deal, Monday through Friday on Zaslow Show 2.0 to end every show. And on It's Still Real to Me on Saturdays, we're going to end the show with Big Dirt or Not Big Dirt. All right. So the wrestling, the online rumors, all that stuff, we're going to do Big Dirt or Not Big Dirt. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I've been digging through the dirt sheets all week. I think I got a few big dirts, not a big dirts for you that you're going to appreciate. All right. First, big dirt, not a big dirt. It is reported that not only will John Cena be at WrestleMania in Hollywood next year, John Cena will wrestle at WrestleMania in Hollywood next year. Big dirt or not a big dirt?
That's big dirt. I mean, look, it's essentially it'll be the first WrestleMania that Triple H has the reins. Okay. If we can get The Rock, if we could get Cena, that seems believable to me. That's big dirt right there. I want to see Cena, absolutely.
Anytime you get Cena, it's big dirt.
Yeah.
All right, WWE has trademarked Queen of the Ring, and it's rumored that King of the Ring will go back to a traditional one-night tournament pay-per-view. It'll all happen in the same night. Big dirt or not a big dirt?
That's big dirt. I especially like that because I hate the whole we're in the middle of the King of the Ring tournament. It takes a month, and then it finishes up at the pay-per-view. What happens to these guys? You could fight 3 times in one night. You could find a way to have several matches in one night. I loved King of the Ring when I was a kid, where you got the guys who got to go through a whole gauntlet, and then they get crowned at the end of the night. It's more impactful. That's big dirt to me. I like the sound of that.
King of the Ring gave us the biggest star in the history of the business.
Yeah.
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
This is big dirt. Let's get it back.
Yeah.
By the way, just a side note, look at all these guys that the way these wrestlers train nowadays, they all do MMA, they're all former wrestlers, or all this and that. Let's bring back Brawl for All. Let's bring back Brawl for All and make it an MMA tournament. One night only. Let's let them really kick the shit out of each other. Brock would win, but hey, it would be fun. All right. Next, it's room. So we just talked about AEW a little bit. Obviously, the Elite have been gone for quite some time. We've been seeing these vignettes teasing their return.
Yeah.
It is now rumored they will come back at Full Gear and challenge Death Triangle for the Trios titles. Big deal. Big dirt or not a big dirt?
Yeah, that's big dirt. I've missed the Young Bucks. I like the Young Bucks as heels, but obviously anytime you're gone for a long time and you return as a baby face. Everybody knows that. But I'm looking forward to seeing them again. So, yeah, big dirt to me, Young Bucks. Absolutely.
Yep. This company desperately needs any Kenny Omega they can get.
Yeah.
All right, last one. And this one is kind of on the Viking Raiders. What will he do with Trips in charge? It is rumored that Robert Roode is expected to return to action very soon on the SmackDown brand. Big dirt or not a big dirt?
I'm going big dirt, but you know why I'm doing that? Because, does that mean we're also going to get more Dolph Ziggler? I love Dolph Ziggler, man. I think he's one of the most underutilized guys maybe ever. And they were, what were they? The War Dogs or whatever their name was. Yeah. Dirty Dogs. So if it means that we can get more Dolph Ziggler, yeah, I'm in on that. I'll go big dirt. Let's do it, Robert Roode.
And if we can get the robes with the glorious music, Robert Roode, then I'm all in. Big dirt.
Joey, excellent job today. Second episode of It's Still Real to Me in the books. You were great. We'll do it again next week.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.